Realtree's Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Cabela's, Easton Arrows, Frigid Forage, Fuse, Grizzly Coolers, Hoyt, Hoyman Tree Saws, Muddy Outdoors, Nikon, Ozonics, Redneck Blinds, Rocket Broadheads, RTP Outdoors, Trophy Rock, Spot Hog Releases, Wilderness Athlete, Viking Solutions, and Realtree.
Iowa gun Midwest Whitetail Great Plains. It's Thursday morning, November 30th. The first day of the second gun season here in Illinois. I made it over here yesterday afternoon, and I'm sitting here on the Golden 40 where I killed my buck last year. We're gonna sit tight here most of the morning here, see what happens, but there's a lot of deer in here. Really good bedding here behind me to the east, and it's always a good spot late season. Gets a lot of pressure from all the big timber around here, but got about the best bedding on this 40 acres as anywhere around, so a lot of deer in here, so hopefully it's holding the big one this weekend. I'll check back here in a little bit. Well, that about wraps it up for tonight. Had a little 3-year-old bump a couple does. He actually hit my mock scrape down here. Haven't decided where I'll be in the morning yet. Could be back here. A lot of deer in here, even though I only saw a few tonight. It depends on the wind. I may be here, I may be at Jack's 90. See if we can't get a crack at Shorty in the next day or so. Catch you back in a tree in the morning. It's Saturday afternoon, December 2nd. Made it back out here to Jack's 90. Was in here last night and got in there about 1:30, and time I got my camera set up and everything before I could do an interview, deer started coming into the bean food plot, and it's been a really good stand. About 15 minutes before dark, Shorty showed up. I got some good footage of him. He didn't quite get up to where I needed him to be. Actually, I had a chance at him at about 100 yards, and I had a dozen does and little ones right and under me in the autumn quick plot, and no way I could get my gun up. And time they fed off and he presented a good shot, at about 60, 70 yards. I was losing camera light and just didn't want to put out that kind of footage. So I'm hoping tonight, I'm hoping he's back on a feeding pattern. He wasn't bumping any does. And this plot has been a magnet for a bunch of does. The little ones had as many as 16 does, fawns, and young bucks out there at one time. And they've really just been pouring into this plot of an evening. And I actually had a chance at Shorty the day before gun season started on this same plot. I had my decoy out and called him in and had him come into the decoy. He wanted to get downwind and ended up the wind shifted on me. He got a little bit of something he didn't like. He didn't spook real bad and ended up going down into the draw. Same draw he went into last night as the deer fed up and went back down. It's a really good plot. Everything comes from the west off the end of this point and into the draws. So they normally feed their way up and back down, and I've been able to get in here undetected every time I've been in here. So it's been a great plot. I'm hoping he's on a feeding pattern, and I hope he shows up a good 10 minutes before he did last night, or at least when he does, I hope I'm not surrounded by does and little ones so that I can get the shot and finally put an end to this Shorty chapter. I'd really like to take him home, wrap my tag on him this weekend. So we're going to give it a shot tonight, and I'll catch up with you in the tree, and hopefully we'll have a good bit of action tonight. Well, it's Sunday morning, December 3rd. We're down to about our last couple hours here in Illinois. Last day of their second gun season. I'm over here at Sunset Farm I haven't been too familiar with. Haven't hunted a whole lot. Did have a good encounter here with a nice 3.5-year-old 8-pointer during the bow season. Seen 11 does and little ones and not one single buck this morning. I'm sitting over an 1.5 acre, 2-acre standing bean plot. And unlike Jack's 90, none of these deer are coming to these beans. I don't know what's going on. There must be quite a few acorns here in the adjoining timber, where over at Jack's 90, I don't know, there may not be many acorns, but I know they're pounding the beans over there. I wanted so bad to get back over there this morning for a last sit to try and get Shorty, but just can't sit there with an east wind. I really would have liked to been over there, but like I said, can't sit there with an east wind, and Shorty may live to reach 5.5, which is not a bad thing either. So that about wraps it up here in Illinois.
Welcome back to Midwest Whitetail, Great Plains, Montana. I'm hunting some public land here in Montana today. It's November 29th. I had a buck come through this morning. I wasn't able to get the camera on him. It was right at first light. It happened really fast. But he's been in and out of this brush to my right. I just keep catching glimpses of fur. He started to come out. I thought I was going to get a shot, and I didn't realize he had a doe with him, and she busted. I think she saw me. But they've been in this brush for the last 20 minutes. Just kind of, I can hear him grunting and just catching glimpses of him. So I really am hoping he comes out and I get a shot at him. I just wanted to talk this morning about this setup real quick. I've normally hunted on the fringe. I actually have a stand on the fringe of this. It's kind of like this thick buckbrush bedding area. And over the years that I've been able to hunt some of this public land, this particular spot, I've noticed that these bucks like to run these does in and out of here. I think it's just kind of a secluded spot. They feel secure. It's thick. And so, normally I don't like hunting right in it, but my time's kind of limited. So, normally I hunt the fringes, but I've just noticed they don't seem to work the fringe as much as they do just kind of the center of it. That's why I think they come in here, they feel safe. So I decided to just come in and set up more in the middle. And I've got it's actually great because any south wind is pretty good for this spot, because usually they work to the south of where I'm sitting. So anyway, just kind of keeping my fingers crossed. It's November the 29th, but the rut seems to happen kind of later this year. I don't know. I don't want to say it's happened later, but in my hunting this past couple weeks, I haven't seen a lot of real hard rutting activity, whereas in years past it seems like November 15th, about November 25th is peak. And I'm not saying it hasn't been happening, but it just hasn't been happening around me. So that buck came through, like I said, a little bit earlier. That buck came through this morning, and I keep hearing him in there. So I'm just gonna hold out, and hopefully he'll run that doe by me. All right, well, I got down, I watched that buck fall, so really not much need for a tracking job. Those are my favorite kind when you watch them fall, and there's no guessing. I thought I'd hit him a smidgen low when I shot, but I think it took out that heart, because man, he was down pretty quick. We weren't able to get the camera on him. There's a big giant tree right in the way where he ran, but I was able to look around it and see him fall. So just gonna go get him tagged up, go take a look at him. I'm pretty excited. Yeah, that is a great, very nice public land buck for the area I'm in. It's a 9 point. That is awesome. Definitely hit him a tad low, but very clearly I took out that heart. So, well, yeah, I am super happy to have this buck. Thanksgiving was just a short time ago, not even a week ago, and I definitely have a lot to be thankful for. I've had a really, really exceptional year. I was able earlier this year in September to harvest a really nice antelope buck with my bow.
It's one of the nicest antelope bucks I've ever seen in the area that I hunt. Looks like he could possibly be the new number 2 archery typical buck in the county I shot him in. So that was really cool. That was a great way. That was like September 21st is my oldest daughter's birthday. So that was a great way to get the season started. And then on October 8th, I was able to harvest a really nice bull elk with my bow on public land. So that was a lot of fun. During that trip, I saw some absolutely fantastic bulls, and on day 8, I was fortunate enough to finally be able to put my tag on one of them. So I've just had a really good season so far. And then, of course, if you've been paying attention to Midwest Whitetail and watching it, I was able to take a buddy out and help him harvest his first buck, and shot a muley buck myself on that trip. So it's just been a really good year, and this just kind of caps it off. November 29th. I'm just super blessed. It was fun, a very fun hunt. Didn't have a lot of pre-footage of this buck. As I said, in the tree, they were kind of in, you kind of see behind me this thick brush. They were kind of in and out, and it was just, I was just catching kind of flashes of them. It was hard enough just to see him with the naked eye, let alone try to get the camera on him. But he finally, the doe kind of worked her way out towards me, and I actually didn't think it was the doe he was with. I thought it was a different deer. And fortunately, after she angled away from me, she circled back around, and he followed her, and I was able to make a 40-yard shot on him. So it's just been a really stellar year. I just absolutely love bow hunting whitetails. All the different hunting I've done this year, elk and antelope. I do a lot of spot and stalk prairie type hunting. Of course, I did mule deer this year, but my roots is hunting whitetails in the Midwest. And although I'm not in the Midwest, it sure is fun to get in a tree stand and sit and just kind of, it's kind of relaxing after a few months of really working hard in the mountains and the prairie. So this is just a great public land buck, especially for the area that I'm at. Probably the nicest buck I've shot out of this area. So I'm very, very happy, very, very fortunate. I was a little bit disappointed last week when I was down in this area. I did see a few bucks, had a close encounter with one about this kind of buck, about this class. But it just wouldn't come together, and lo and behold, there was just a ton of people hunting that week. I guess everyone had the same plan to hunt the same week, and I don't know if they were rutting or what, but I sure wasn't seeing a lot of it. Normally when I come into this spot in mid to later November, I'm seeing a lot of rutting activity. Like I said earlier, last year I actually missed a buck about like this. Just basically, I don't know if I missed him, I grazed his brisket in the same area, and he was actually tending a doe, came right under my tree chasing a doe. So normally when I'm in here during the rut, I mean, if they're rutting hard, it's very obvious. They're running all through this buckbrush, grunting, chasing does. So fortunately this morning, I wasn't sure if I had missed it completely, if maybe all the human pressure had pushed them elsewhere, and that's what they're doing in their rutting. So I wasn't sure I'd missed it completely, but this morning I was fortunate that this buck was still on a doe, and I do think one of the reasons being is in Montana, you know, we have later winters than maybe some of the areas in the Midwest or the South or East. So it seems like these does drop their fawns a little later in the spring, which means they get bred a little later in November. So if you ever come out and hunt Montana whitetails, just keep that in mind. Of course, every area is different, you know. So I mean, eastern Montana and western Montana aren't always going to be the same. But very, very happy to have this buck on the ground and have my tag punched. Sure appreciate you watching Midwest Whitetail, Great Plains, Montana. Good luck for the rest of your season, and God bless.
Well, it's officially December, and you wouldn't know it because it's 60 degrees, but I'm running out of time. I basically I can hunt until January 15th, but I can only hunt the weekends because I'm out of vacation, and pretty much from here on out, the next few weekends I've got work Christmas party, family Christmas parties, and it doesn't allow much time for me to hunt. So I wish I could just skip them all and FaceTime everybody from the tree stand and say Merry Christmas, leave me alone, gotta kill a deer. Well, I just had another encounter with that 10-point buck that I've been after all season. A part of me wants this deer to survive because I think he's going to be an absolute giant next year. And it's already this late in the season. I just need to get some meat in the freezer, so I don't know when my next update will be, but chances are when I do get back in a tree, I'm going to harvest a doe.